and with apologies, and I have apology from Marcus, who is in Wairoa doing important stuff, and apology for lateness for Roger, who is having a wound attended to. Yes.
After service.
Thanks, mover and a seconder. So moved by Lou. Could I have a seconder, please? Thanks, Philip. Thank you. All in favour? Contrary, no. Oh, where's oh, there you are. I lost Claire for a moment. Okay, disclosure of members' interests. Liz, I believe you've got a disclosure for us.
Yes, I have two disclosures. Actually, obviously, I'll be presenting my annual report, but then the following item as well regarding the contract. Thanks.
Right. Okay. Late items. There being none, we'll move on. Confirmation of the order of the meeting. No changes, Ken. All good. Thanks, Claire. And a seconder, please. Thanks, Bruce. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried also. Confirmation of the minutes from the 6th of December on pages 8 through 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So we're all happy. Thanks. Lou is moving and a seconded receive. Thank you, Susan. All in favour? Contrary, no. That's carried. So move on to tab 6, Mighty River Domain, and Ken is just going to let Liz get on with it, I think.
Yes, look, I'm pretty happy to do that. I was just going to point out in terms of the cover report that Liz in her report, and she's obviously well capable of speaking to it, did point out a number of new initiatives. So look, Liz has discussed that both with the property staff, the property team staff here, as well as with exec. And look, we're quite supportive of those things being looked into, so I just wanted to mention that. But yes, Chair, you're quite correct. This is a report from Liz in her capacity as manager of the site. So very appropriate that Liz speaks to her report.
Thank you. Well, I will take the report as read. Actually, I'll just take a couple of moments just to talk about the last year, which of course has, like many other tourist operators, has had its challenges. But throughout the report, I continue to talk about a rebuild, and that's how it feels, with the domain and the number of events that we've got that we're, delivering at the moment. Although their attendee numbers are not quite pre-COVID levels, they're certainly getting there. So I think that, it's all looking really, really good for next summer season, where I'd like to think that we'll be back at, normal attendance numbers, and that's mostly across rowing and Waka Armour as well. So in terms of, first of all, the storm, we had 0 trees down at Mighty River Domain. Unbelievable, considering just literally up the road at Leamington, considerable damage. So I was exceptionally relieved when I arrived to work that morning. So that was, our best luck, absolute luck, of course. Now, just some of the new initiatives. We've got North Island secondary schools rowing in about 2 weeks' time, followed by Māori Cup. So we're going to be rolling out a new refuse and recycling sorting station. Now, we have been working on this for a long time, working with Sally Fraser here at Council. We've just been, we found it really hard because we want to, obviously everyone wants to do the right thing, but so much of what is left at the domain goes straight into general waste. So now we're taking real ownership of it, taking it a step further and having a manned sorting station. So we will continue to take general waste, but we're not taking people's umbrellas, gazebos, broken chairs. So usually about 20 of those after a regatta. So we're just really being strict around what we will accept. And the only way you can do that is if you man the sorting station. So we've got a compound and working really closely with Sally on the design of that. So that will be launched in a couple of weeks' time. And I've found a couple of backpacker girls roaming around the country who are going to hopefully help with that as well. So yeah, so that will be a work in progress, I suppose, for the next few months. So that's probably one of the big things. Dogs continue to be an issue, but I don't know if anyone's been to the Domain lately, but I've worked out that a 2.4 metre high sign by 1.2 metres is probably the way to go at each entrance. So really big no dog sign at gates 1, 2 and 3. So really hoping to crack down on that. You know, dogs always pose a problem, mostly just around what they like to leave behind. So yeah, just wanting to look at that as well. So yeah, happy to answer any questions. So part of rebuilding, looking at accommodation going forward, something I would like considered for the LTP, but that's we've already had a small feasibility study done previously, which I think many councillors here would have seen. But yeah, that will be up to Council Request going forward to decide whether we want to, move that to the next level of a business case.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. I just got I noticed that traffic management is one of the real issues you have.
Yeah, I probably wasn't going to talk too much about that today because I have a meeting with council staff tomorrow. So Dawn and James will be coming out to the Domain tomorrow where we can actually really unpick what we currently do and think around and I guess put together a really good plan going forward. How I think this will probably pan out is that we're looking to implement a lot of permanent signage. So that will then benefit event hosts because they won't have to hire it in and they won't have to hopefully keep putting cones in and out. I mean, I can have, I can be bringing cones in every second day for different events, which just seems crazy. So what I'm hoping to do is put in permanent measures, which will then greatly reduce the amount of traffic management costs that a lot of our event hosts are bearing at the moment. If I had to take a guess and say that if we don't do something, I will possibly, I think that many of our community events will actually drop off our calendar. They simply can't sustain the extra traffic management costs that are coming their way with new compliance. Yeah, well. So tomorrow will be, we have a good meeting tomorrow with my team and council staff and looking for a really good, permanent plan that will hopefully keep a lot of our existing events at the Domain.
Oh, good luck with that. Yeah. Mike.
Yeah, I won't ask the same question again. That was mine too around traffic management. But I guess a bigger thing around that, and maybe it's something Ken or we could look at considering, is Gary talked about bringing some things back in-house, not that traffic management probably ever was, but the cost of traffic management for all of our events is just so astronomical. And pick up on what Liz has said, a lot of these people that need traffic management are just small, almost volunteer. They're not big wig companies. They're just people trying to put on events, and some of them are small, some are large. But the cost is just becoming exponential. Is that something? I'll say, ask you, Ken, that we could look at investigating? To run it at a cost neutral for council, and then it's obviously a service that can be provided also.
Yeah. So look, through the chair, some big considerations there in terms of the expertise that would be required in terms of staffing there. Also in terms of some quite significant equipment requirements. But look, as you've pointed out, we are intending looking at quite globally at that whole thing over the next short while, over the next few months. So yes, they can certainly come to the table in terms of considerations, and we can certainly engage with you as elected members in that space as well. Yeah, so good. Good point.
Clear.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. And I think I'd like to acknowledge, the huge, I suppose, impact the Mighty River Domain has on the district, and you're an important part of that. Yeah, so I think want to acknowledge that you and your team, do a great I suppose, a public relations job for Waipa. I was interested whether or not you get feedback from your visitors and whether or not that could be included in a report. You know, like it's always good to hear what the people that are experiencing the facilities can say, or about being able to have the event here in Waipa and things like that. Have you given any thought to that?
We've got a few quotes actually from event hosts on our website. So that we've sought feedback on. We don't get a lot of feedback. I guess we're a strange beast in that half of the time we're a recreational reserve, so people are coming and going, and we don't really get to see them. You know, they're enjoying the 19 hectares of reserve land that's there. And then the other half of you know, our time, of course, is delivering the events, but we're very much in a site services role. So we look after, dare I say it, it's toilets and rubbish. You know, those are the two key things. And so there's not normally a lot of feedback around that unless it goes wrong. So you would hear a lot of feedback if it doesn't go right. So I guess, you know, that's probably a relatively good sign. But look, I'll seek, you know, feedback.
Because
I think it's important.
And I didn't look at the website, but I thought, like, this is an annual report. It'd be good to have even just the positive stuff. I know what you mean about the rubbish, actually. I mean, I was going to ask you about that too, because I'm really pleased you're working with Sally on it, because it is a big issue. I mean, I was at a climate change thing, like a forum for the Waikato early in February, and there was talk there about like the visitor economy, setting the rules for people coming to the district about zero waste, you know, and so, you know, whether or not a lot of your rubbish is to do with food and drink, that we don't even want people to recycle. We actually want them to use stuff that they reuse themselves.
I agree.
I mean, you're probably familiar with that.
Well,
so,
don't bring it if you intend to leave it.
That's
really it, isn't it? So people are purchasing packaging that they don't intend to recycle. And I guess it's getting to those, or it's setting up the standard and getting the communications out really early. So our communications for Māori Cup, which is the last week of March, are going out now to all the clubs and teams, schools, so that they start to think about what they what they do when they get to the domain, because they're far from home. These are South Island schools, so they'll be accommodated, of course, throughout Waipa and the Waikato. So we want them thinking early about and choosing, you know, choosing to do things in an environmental way.
And I think a lot of younger people are definitely open to that, and that by providing them with some information on expectations and how we've got our system set up to do that, might be possible. I just thought it was really good. I was interested in what you would assess as the impact of COVID. You know, like you said, your numbers are recovering. Like, would you say you're at 80% or 70%? Like, because we have had a lot of weather events, haven't we?
I mean, we were quite lucky on the weather events, actually. And we just delivered the hydroplane event just last weekend. And of course, the hurricane came through the day after, so that was quite lucky. But we, in terms of attendance, we're about 70%. So you know, I mean, Waka Ama was probably, I think, really very telling. So normally see 3,500 competitors for that event, and we were, you know, 800 less. Just for So you know, but I'm really confident that our young people will start to take up that sport, because that's where the numbers were. The adults have come back because they are well entrenched in the sport, but it's the young ones who haven't trained and haven't actually taken up the sport yet, where they would normally have. So there's a bit of work to be done around, I think, you know, in that space.
Thank you. Anyway, I think it's a great report. I'm really excited about the possibilities with the refuse and recycling things. Cool.
And look, we're always looking for new events as well to bring to the domain. So we've got 2 new events looking for next summer calendar. They're a bit disguised on the calendar that I've given you, because I've got to be careful. But that's what we want to do is, it's a challenge. What we want to do, of course, is continue to bring new, fresh events to Waipa, which then brings in new people, because the economic benefit, Claire, as you said, is very large for Waipa. We know that. There's been plenty of economic studies done already about the value of some of our larger events.
No, that's great. Bruce?
Unless you said one of the initiatives was following the road start line for happening. It's steep.
Bruce?
We're already live. So could that be done quite cheaply
Um,
within reason?
well, there's a couple of cows from the neighbours there at the moment, so that's the cheapest way of doing it. But we do want to move away from having stock, on at the start line. It's fully fenced, so there's no issue around that. But it poses its challenges. So we'd really like to plant it. I've got in the very early discussions with some of our voluntary Cambridge organisations around planting. So that seems to be the sensible way to go about it. But I'm also really mindful that the designs are kind of have been started around the cycleway or the extension of the cycleway. So I want to work in with those designs as well, because that's where Te Awa currently finishes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to jump the gun.
Okay,
either.
you've got it under control.
Susan?
I just want to add, one of your initiatives in terms of bringing new things such as Waterworld should come with a warning about the need for upper body strength.
Which is why I never did it.
I did it with my family on Boxing Day by Karate by Jingos. I've not laughed that much in ages, but boy was I sore.
Yeah.
So weak, just so weak.
We were really, really pleased to bring back Waterworld. So we had it at the Domain couple of years ago, and it was very, very popular because you may remember that we didn't have the Cambridge pool at that time, so it offered an alternative. And so bringing it back, in fact, the numbers have just been sent to me. Thousands of Waipa people enjoyed, about 2,500 enjoyed it was only there for a defined period of time. We could only fit it in, in between events. So it's good. It's great.
My grandkids were devastated. They missed out on that, actually. So next year, hopefully. Okay. All happy? Yeah. Thanks, Liz.
No, you're welcome.
And keep up the good work. I'm sure you will. So on page 14, I have a recommendation to receive the report of Ken and Liz's annual report. Thanks, Lou. Thanks, Philip. All in favour? Contrary, no. It is carried. And we'll move on to tab 7, which is the procurement plan for the service of that site. Ken.
Yes, so this one falls to me today as well. Actually, a number of the items fall to me today because unfortunately Chris is absent. So and there's quite a number of property items on the agenda. I do have some assistance in the back row for I think the next item after this. But yeah, look, what this is about, and this is a pretty important item really, because this is basically the first steps, I suppose, or certainly the first interaction with you as elected members in regard to the Mighty River Domain site management contract, because the current 6-year contract is expiring a little later this year. In fact, on 30th of June of this year. So in terms of the resolution that we are seeking today, I guess there's two elements to it, but I just want to just talk to item B of the recommendation, which we hope will become the resolution in a few minutes' time, and that is that there is an obligation under the legislation when we get to a point of expiry of a significant contract. There is a requirement that we actually look at what the best means of service delivery is. So very important that part B is put in there. From Office's perspective, we really comprehensively reviewed this 6 years ago, where we actually engaged a consultants report in terms of looking at all of the options for service delivery, and that report very, very firmly landed that the mechanism that we have had in place for many, many years out at the Domain is definitely the most effective means of service delivery. So officers are saying, look, we in fact we've reread that report in the lead up to preparing this one, look, we think it is a tried and true model, but it is actually important that that as elected members, that you do firmly resolve on that. So so that was something that I wanted to point out. I guess the other thing to be fair of, and I guess this pertains to part C of the recommendation / resolution. What I want to be clear on is that we have got a fairly tight time frame here. It's not that we hadn't known that this expiry was coming, but look, we have been a bit resource constrained in the property team of recent times, and our original intention had been to kind of bring this report to you at the end of last year. Capacity just didn't allow us to do that. So we are in a place where where the timelines are relatively constrained, but you can see that in the appendix we do have a timeline that actually does achieve us awarding this contract before 1 July. So so the property team is very focused on that. We have actually engaged some outside resource to assist us to get to that point. So those were really the 2 points I wanted to make. I'm very happy to answer any questions, Stu.
Questions, Bruce?
Well, you're just going. Ken, you say there's no need to do another Section 17A report because 6 years ago it was done very thoroughly. So is that still the case? You don't get away with using that report, as I think.
Yeah, so look, I think through the chair, I think the important thing, Councillor Thomas, is that you as elected members, determine that, and that's why we've made provision in Part B of the resolution for that. Yes, it is officers' very, very firm view that it's that it's not worth spending money on another report, because we're almost certain what the outcome or what the conclusion of that report would be. Like I say, this is a very tried and true model. It's worked very, very well for us.
Yeah, just on that, and I'm perfectly happy with everything you're saying, but I think from a process point of view, it would have been good to have that previous report included here, because you do refer to it. Yes. And the point the officers are saying they see nothing's changed, which is great, and I'm perfectly happy to accept it, but it would have been nice to have it there, both for us and for the public perception, I believe.
Yes. So look, through the chair, point taken, and and apologies that we didn't do that, and it was certainly through no intent to withhold, but it's been an oversight on our part.
Could that be forwarded?
Yes. So very happy for that to be the case. Although, I mean, are you saying that you don't want to make the resolution until then, or
no, not at all? I'm perfectly happy, Ken. I just was pointing it out. I just thought it was a minor miss.
Yep, for sure. So so after this meeting, we will certainly get that report out to you.
Yep, great. Clear.
Yes, thanks. I mean, I was going to speak about the 17A report or assessment, because I feel that the model that we have is really strong on the effectiveness. Like you may possibly find cheaper ways of delivering the service, but to actually have a site manager that is able to be focused completely on that task and also attract more events and activities and things like that. I think that pays huge dividends that just can't be sort of quantified in a simple what's the lowest cost? So that's why I do think that it is a good model, an effective model. And so I'm also supportive of the recommendation.
No, thanks for that. And from where I'm sitting, that site has been very well managed. So I'm happy to go down this road as well. Any further discussion? No. Okay. So the recommendation is on pages, I should say, 23 and 24. So that's A, B, and C. Ken, I just noticed there was in the report from from
The property group.
the property group, yeah. There was only one area that they saw as high risk, and that's consultation with mana whenua. Do you have a comment on that at all?
Yeah, so look, I guess the reason why that was regarded as higher risk is that the site is, of course, and certainly speaking to the converted here, the site is of incredible importance to mana whenua. So it is a really critical site. Council has committed to engaging with mana whenua if anything significant is to happen in regard to arrangements or the context of the site. So I guess what's happening here is the property group is saying, and in fact they're reflecting what we've said to them, is that it is really important that we get this engagement right. I guess what this engagement looks like is informing mana whenua of the coming contract expiry. The last thing we want them to last thing we want to happen here is that they have no pre-knowledge of that at all. But look, effectively that is what the pre-engagement or what the engagement looks like. It is advising them that that the contract is going to be retendered. And so they've got that knowledge. If they had any aspirations in that regard, whether that be as a contractor or as subcontractors, then it's it's an opportunity for them to think about that and take part in the process if they were of that mind. I have no idea if they would be or not. But look, it really just recognises the absolute importance of that site to mana whenua.
So it's important we get that. Sorry, you might.
Well, interrupt. Just on that step in the property group timeline, the construction of the contract, I just had a question around that, particularly given the sort of sensitivities of the fact your deputy mayor is the incumbent. How much detail will council elected members get on the construction of the contract? I'm not expecting sort of commercial terms, but I have no idea what that contract looks like, how it works, anything.
Okay.
Just what's that going to be like?
Yeah, so through the chair, we obviously, this opportunity only arises every 6 years, and I think, although I'm going to be struggling to give you any detail of what we're thinking, but there are aspects of that contract that we do think, do need just a little bit of rework, a little bit of realignment. So the property team have gone through that in detail with the property group and identified a few areas that they do want to rework. Now I'm not entirely sure that we were looking to necessarily share the contract in detail with elected members, and of course, given the tightness of the time frame, we certainly can't really afford to unduly delay. But look, if there was a desire to to sort of see that contract as it gets reworked, and to understand what changes, if any, have been incorporated in that contract, we would be happy to share that informally with elected members if there was interest. Yeah, they don't change. To be clear, they don't change the fundamentals of the contract. This is a management services contract. The level of activity that we're expecting will absolutely be the same. It's a bit of tweaking around the edges, but probably reasonably important tweaking around the edges here.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I'm not particularly wanting to see the detail of the contract, although maybe any significant changes, the material changes might be of interest. I was actually interested in seeing if we can get provisions put in there about reporting on what's happening there, because while the annual report that we received was fine, there isn't any requirement to provide information about feedback, like what reviews are they getting, or retention of existing events, or what new events have been found, and also measures about sustainability and waste reduction, or just general attendance numbers overall, or what's been a great success, or what's been a challenge. Like that kind of, it's pretty basic form reporting. It's nothing to do with finances, because I presume the financial side of things is is worked out, with the property people, which is where it should be. But elected members are interested in, this is a high profile, site for us,
Yes.
in many different ways. I mean, even the relationship with Mana Whenua would also be good to be reported on. And those kind of things are really important. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So through the chair, just a response to that. So I guess what you were not seeing or haven't had the opportunity to see more correctly is look there is very, very close contact between the property team and Liz and her team. So to the extent of monthly meetings, so formal monthly meetings in terms of a whole lot of the issues that you've just talked about. So yeah, it's being done at that level, and that's actually at the property manager level. So Chris and his predecessors, meeting directly with Liz. I mean, if you'd like that, elevated up into the into the governance forum, we could certainly look to do that, and in fact, to actually reflect that in the contract if that's what you're expecting. The report that you heard in the item before this is very expressly provided for in the contract, and actually that was a change 6 years ago. So the previous contract had no formal reporting mechanism through to governance, and so we actually introduced that as a contract clause last time that that there would be a report through to exec, and then that on an annual basis, and then that report would come through into the governance forum. So that's been in place for 6 years. If you wanted to extend that to being a shorter frequency or some very express provisions about what appears in that or other reports, and we could certainly do that.
I'd be happy with an annual report, but just covering those additional.
Okay, so
if
some
that's what other
express,
people think,
express provisions in that. Yeah, cool. Yep, no, we'll take that on board here.
Look, that's a slightly different aspect to what I'm talking about, but I agree with what you're saying. I am talking more at the sort of the commercial shape of it, and I might be barking up the wrong tree here. I just wanted to raise it in this forum. Like, for example, when we were just talking this morning about the fact that the recycling contractors, and Dawn told me it was a mark and measure. I was like, well, really? That strikes me as an odd contract to be a mark and measure. So there's no commercial imperative at all for the contractor to perform. So I was sort of meaning the shape of the contract. I have no idea. Is this a cost plus contract, or is it a service delivery type contract? That's what I was getting at. And normally I wouldn't be, look, I'm not even worried about it at all. It's just the fact your deputy mayor is doing it. I sort of feel that I should at least understand the shape of the contract. Don't have to know the numbers.
Yeah. So interestingly, and I'll just speak to that. So this is probably a little bit of an unusual contract, in the sense that that actually what we are buying under this contract is labour, really. So this is a management services contract. So all of the expenses incurred by GL Events Limited in regard to domain activity, are direct expenses of council. So we're employing GL Events and their team to manage bookings on the site. We're employing them to caretake the site, etc. But sort of all materials and all contracting type costs, whether they be traffic management or whatever else, toilet cleaning, all that sort of stuff. That is actually that is all directly met by council, and we are basically employing management service.
Okay. And does all revenue flow to council as well?
Yes, all revenue.
Revenue
flows
and expenditure is in and out of council, so you're just buying the labour service.
Buying the management service.
Okay.
So on that regard, it is a bit of an unusual contract, but as I say, that's worked very, very well for many years.
Okay, thank you for that. So as I was saying, pages 23 and 24, recommendation A, B, and C. Do I have a mover, please? Bruce, and seconded by Claire. Thank you. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. Tab 8. Ken again.
Okay, and hey, for this one, I will be joined by Dustin, so I am going to go for a bit of a walk to the other table. Okay, so so quarterly property services report. And actually, although this is a quarterly property services report, we're actually reporting 6 months here because we weren't able due to a number of factors to produce this as per normal prior to Christmas. Okay, so 6 months through to 31 December 22. Look, I'll largely take this as read. You have both myself and Dustin here if there are any questions. I did just want to point out though, because this is important. I just need to make an acknowledgement on page 47 and 48, and in fact, particularly on page 48, there is there's just 4 performance measures that are reported here in four graphs. Look, what we have become aware of since this report came through is that there are some issues on the right-hand graph on page 48. So this is non-urgent pensioner housing requests, and you can see there is no information in there. So there have been 272 client requests that have or customer requests that have come through into the system, but all 272 are just showing as CRMs, and none of them have become service requests, and so therefore the measure is not applicable. Now, what we know with some further prodding and poking is that actually probably a very large number, in fact even up to 90% of those 272 CRMs actually were in fact service requests, but they have not been treated as service requests. So we've got a bit of a classification issue going on, look, we do have some difficulties with that measure. It's resulted from a change in personnel in the team, and not understanding the importance of properly classifying those things as service requests. So look, we will do some work outside this meeting because this is actually an annual report measure at the end of the year, right now it looks like we may have some difficulty reporting back on that unless we can do a reclassification. But even if we do a reclassification, what we'd have to be sure about was the response times, and I think the fact that they haven't been treated correctly means that there could be quite a bit of doubt about the actual response time. So so look, apologies on the part of the team. We've identified like I say, a bit of a training issue, which we will address from this moment forwards. The first half of the year is a little bit impacted in terms of the reporting of that one performance measure. Okay, so just wanted to say that I think it's probably opportune to invite any questions that you might have. Philip.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks for your report. Just below that, the CRMs, the next 3.4. You got license to graze, and there's lots of license to graze. Is that just for people having an individual horse, or it's not farmers? That's not all the farmers. No, grazing on the green belts, and because you have got a bit of that, haven't you?
Yes, no, this is actually for a farmer to graze a large part of a green belt or some other council reserve certainly would require some sort of license. But all of the ones that you are seeing here are all just individual, or a couple of horses with like a mum and dad household or whatever who are grazing their horse on our reserves. Yes, well, I think the thing, Councillor Coles, is if you look at them, we only ever put these grazing arrangements in place for 12 months.
Yeah.
And there are quite a number of them.
Yes.
So there's a large number of them. They're quite short term, so they come up very frequently.
Yeah.
So these are often coming across the desk to sign. I mean, they're very, very small agreements on a standard format. They're about a three-page document with some obligations on both parties, and a very structured charge system. So yeah.
And another small question: the Cambridge Clock Tower seismic in 2021. There was, where is it? I can't find it now. Seismic. There's Clock Tower there. Seismic assessment. How's that looking?
Good one, please. The big blue.
So we currently in the finishing stages of getting that report from the consultant. So in the next week or two, we should have that report through in our possession.
So that assessment was made in 2021. So it's taken, in all respect, it's taken that long to get it together.
So we put out that contract to the consultant about 4 or 5 months ago. Prior to that, we've had to have some prioritization in terms of our resourcing, and that's been one of the projects that's unfortunately been pushed further down the road. Right. Thank you.
So through the chair, just to clarify though, I think the 2020, I think we might be talking about two different things. So the 2021 work was a heritage architect who was engaged, and on his recommendation, I believe a DSA, a detailed seismic assessment, was required. That has, as Dustin says, only recently been commissioned.
Yeah, the architect's recommendation. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Clear.
Yeah, thanks. I've got questions about the finances. So that's on page 2 of the report, or 38 of our agenda. It's just that there's some really low percentages for completion, like in the income, properties commercial is only 2%, but then further down, Hall's income is actually 728%. So even exceeded the annual forecast for that. So I wondered about those two in particular. And I presumed with the expenditure that the council occupied buildings are caught up with this issue with the earthquake strengthening and things like that. Yeah, so those are the main questions, I guess. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And look, I might be struggling to drill down too much on those right now. Could certainly come back to you with information later. I think in the properties commercial income space, essentially what a lot of that is about is about essentially land rationalisation.
Oh,
So look, it's probably an unfortunate title, properties commercial, because that's basically anything else that's not actually occupied by council for council activity. So look, we have got a rationalisation program where we're looking to achieve some sales, and of course those are quite big dollars when those properties are rationalised, and we are a bit behind with that program. So look, I think that's where the explanation lies in that space. In terms of why our Halls revenue is spectacularly high, I am struggling as to what that is, but I guess it's a good thing. But yeah, look, I can check in with the team and see if we can give you an explanation for that. Of course, forestry income. There's obviously quite a shortfall there, because that's dependent, a little bit like the land sales, that's dependent on the harvest, and we'll be talking about that shortly if there's any questions in that space.
Oh, well, just on that, like, because a lot of it's happening at Pirongia, I'm actually aware of that, because they contacted me because of my involvement with the pest control in the Sainsbury Road area. So correct. I do know that it's actually on the brink of starting.
Yes, after being aborted last summer. So
so I'm comfortable with that. Yeah,
cool.
And then with the council occupied buildings, do you think that's again caused by this issue with the earthquake strengthening, although it looks like it's a credit amount.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, it is a credit amount. So so if anything, if that was the explanation, I'd be expecting that to actually be a large large debit amount. But yeah, look, I think we will have to come back to you, Claire, unless you've got any direct answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure. We'd have to get back to you and chat to finance first, but some of it may be in relation to prioritising the OPEX cost related to road streets across the road. So,
True.
Right, yeah.
True.
I'm not sure if that's the primary cause, but that we can get back to you on,
Cool.
on that.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, it's always interesting stuff going on here, but I know you guys have been very short-staffed, so must be looking forward to having your team replenished very shortly. Any further questions for anyone? No? Okay, so Mike's going to move, and seconder is Claire, recommendation on page 37, so I'll put that. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. Thank you very much. Tab 9, Kihi Stockade Reserve.
Okay, so this one will fall on me as well, and I'll just stay in this position. So Kiki Stockade Reserve. So so look, what this proposal is, or essentially what we're looking to win today, is a go ahead, and of course the associated funding to push ahead with a piece of work that does very much look to the future in terms of the potential for some medium density housing on that site. The brief to the architects, so subject to the decision today, will be for some engagement with local stakeholder groups in relation to that. It will also include consideration of the site for a skate park development. So you will recall that when we adopted the current LTP, that a sum of money was dedicated towards the skate park. That needs to be significantly supplemented by fundraising activity, and there is a group in Kihi who are very much working in that space of fundraising, but at the moment they have no site. This has been identified as a potential site, but we want that to be in a way that it doesn't jeopardise other potential for the site. Okay, so we want it to be a full concept master plan that looks to incorporate the potential for housing as well as the potential for the skate park side by side. So that's essentially what we're looking to win. It's interesting, because so since writing this paper, it's I've become aware that while this thing is often called the Stockade Reserve, or commonly called the Stockade Reserve, I notice it's also actually on the record books got the name of Alexandra Reserve, which is very interesting because of course Pirongia, the original name of Pirongia was Alexandra, or the original European name of Pirongia was Alexandra. So quite where that Alexandra Reserve came from, I'm not too sure, but this reserve is apparently known by both names. It is a local purpose grazing reserve, so that's the classification of the reserve, and that has very much been its purpose for many years in terms of grazing, particularly by riding for the disabled, who've been running their activity out of that or on that reserve for a number of years. We have a plan in place to move them from there to Herbert Street, and that essentially creates an opportunity to look at at what we potentially do with this reserve. It is a very noticeable reserve when you take an aerial view, and in fact there is an aerial view incorporated into the report. Look, it is a very large 4 hectare piece of green land right in the middle of Kihi effectively. But that's probably enough said, but I'm very happy for any comments or any questions on the report.
Okay, Bruce, and then Mike.
So Ken, you're saying that the reserve status as is could go to the new property for RDA, correct? Does that move it, and then that satisfies whoever needs to be?
Yeah, so look, I'm not sure it would directly go to the Herbert Street property. I mean that would be an option, but but I'm not sure that would happen. But look, I am very, very aware that that there has for a number of years been a proposition that potentially the key domain is expanded by the purchase of a part of the Nicholson property next door. That's been talked about I think as long as I've been on council, which is about 13 years now, or been employed by council. So so look, there is potential perhaps if that designation was really important, that could potentially be transferred to perhaps a potential extension of the key domain. But who knows? I mean, this is a very important piece of work in terms of determining whether this is a real possibility or not. If it isn't, then it isn't. But if it is, look, it could be well worth pursuing, particularly with the current demand for housing. This potentially is this could well be the highest and best purpose of this particular piece of land.
Mike.
Just following on from Councillor Thomas, similar question, just point of clarification. You said this was a local purpose reserve. Is that under the district plan, not under the Reserves Act?
Actually, I'm just looking down the end of the room to Brad as to whether you know. I mean, I know it's shown in both, so it's shown in the district plan as that. But yeah, look, I actually think that is a Reserves Act type classification, isn't it? You are testing my knowledge of that area there. Okay.
Oh, look, as part of the process, it's fine. It was just for my clarification. You don't go developing a reserve under the Reserves Act lightly, is my point.
Yeah, so look, some in discussion with the chief executive. In fact, I think the terms are that there will be a few hoops to jump through in terms of following through on a proposition to enable this for housing. So Gary very much does recognise that. But I guess one of the key things we need to do is look at all aspects of this, and hence the commissioning of this exercise to work through the detail, to do some community engagement on this, to to determine what at the stakeholder group level, to determine what what they're thinking about this proposal, and then obviously to report back.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ken, and the questions. I'm very much in favour of this going ahead. On a number of levels, actually, because green spaces in towns are very important, and I'm sure that this what are we calling it, urban design master planning piece of work will weigh all the factors involved. So that's all good. Yeah. So if that concludes the discussion, recommendations on page 53, A and B. B approving the use of up to $26,000. Thanks, Susan. Moved by Susan, seconded by Lou. All in favour? Contrary, no. That's carried. Thank you. Tab 10. You're going to come back and join me for this one. That's nice. Okay, financial report for a period ended 31 January. Welcome, Nada. How are we doing?
Good afternoon, everyone. So we've got the financial report for 31st of January. I'll just take the report as being read. We'll just point out that the total income is currently at 46%, and we have the operating expenditure at 54%. The overall gross revenue from significant activities is 39%, and the expenditure is at 55%, and our capital expenditure is currently at 40% of the forecast. So I'll just take questions if there's any questions. I think Andrew, you had a question.
Yeah, any other questions? I've got a question or two. Mike? Oh, no, no, where you go.
Yeah, just I was looking at the key risk indicator report.
Yeah.
Just could you explain, just take us through the monitoring of assumptions used to prepare the annual plan as year progresses? There's three there that didn't entirely make sense to me.
So that's based on the CapEx to date compared to the annual planned budget. So in the three areas, we've got the growth. So at the moment, it's at 30.67 of the growth compared to the annual plan. And then we've got the renewals and the level of service. So it's just comparing our actuals and where those are sitting at percentage wise. You'll see that the renewals is quite down. So then we just put that as being, to watch it, that it's at risk, not to meet the.
Thanks. No, those ones actually did make sense with the ones below, particularly growth impact on rates at 0.3%.
Yeah.
Just can you explain that to me? Or couldn't work it out.
Ken's.
Yeah, so through the chair, I can pick up on that one. So look, I guess what this is about is effectively the amount of capital value or our rating base as we approach the start of a new rating year. So so what this is measuring is how many new properties have come on board via subdivision, because of course if a new property is created, that's a new uniform annual charge that we can rate, etc. As properties are built on, then obviously a new house is going to achieve another $300,000 of capital value, etc. That we can rate on in the lead up to a new year. So so look, we monitor this every year in terms of the new capital value and new number of properties that are being added to the to the district rating base, because of course that actually shelters existing ratepayers in regard to what the rates rise is going to be. And with the rate of growth that we've had in our district, we set it that we would have a 4.4% increase in rating base. At the moment, we're looking in a very, very sorry place in regard to that. Just so that we don't alarm you too much, that we always start very, very slow, and then there's usually as we approach the 30th of June, there is a big catch up. But I think in this case, the rate of growth has been so slow that while I am expecting this will really amp up, and we will start heading towards the 4.4. We do consider ourselves at risk of not achieving it this time, and the reason why there's that delay is certainly in terms of if it's additional capital value through either via subdivision, because even splitting land into smaller components increases the value of the land. So whether it's that or whether it's actually the building of a dwelling or the building of a commercial premise and adding value that way, we are totally dependent on our valuation service provider quotable value actually rocking up to the property and determining what the increased value is. And and sometimes there is a lag factor in that regard, but there is a huge amount of pressure on them to actually achieve that task by 30 June, because if the task is not achieved by 30 June, we can't actually rate on it the following year. We'd have to wait another whole year to rate it. So so invariably this thing does catch up in time, but we are signalling early, I suppose, that it may be a struggle achieving the 4.4.
So that covered a couple of areas that I also want to cover, so that's good. Nada, page 57 of our significant activities, the one that's really, really low in operating revenue is community services and facilities. Why is that lagging behind forecasts so much?
So I looked into that. It looks like there's quite a lot of asset sales that have been forecast.
Okay.
So as part of the forecasting process for the end of this month, the budget holders will be looking at all that.
And again, that's probably partly to do with the service property team's capabilities.
Yes.
Capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in fact, it's exactly the same as the question that I answered for Councillor St Pierre earlier on, looking from the property property report side. Yeah.
Okay. I want you please to congratulate the rates team on their report is very, very good. The total owing from previous years at 99,000. I doubt if there's another council in the country that would be able to boast that record. So they're doing a fabulous job.
Yeah, they have.
Any further comment, Claire?
Yeah, thanks. I've just got two questions. The first one's actually on that page with the rates status.
Yep.
It's the summary of rates, actually. I was having a look at it. And I'm not sure whether the second line, rates for 2022-23, it's got 14,570, which matches the total owing. So not the global figure, not the maximum amount that you collect. It's the amount owing, because I thought the purpose of that section is probably to say we've collected $32 million worth of rates, and this is how it's divided up. Yeah, but no, maybe I'll need more understanding.
Yeah, no, through the chair, if I can clarify that. So so no, look, what that section is reporting is what rates are still owing, and they're in various buckets, right? Or well, principally three buckets. So there's the arrear from prior years that the chair has just referred to, and we've done an outstanding job in terms of getting those arrears down. They're only 99,000. There is 14.5 million of current year rates, 22-23 rates that have been billed but not collected. So those are still remaining. And then jump down a couple of rows to instalments not yet due, and we've actually got another 19 million that we are able to bill this year, but we haven't quite got to those quarters yet. So that's those are actually unbilled rates. So those are the three components, and then the third line down is prepayments for future rating periods. So we've actually had some people who have paid us in advance for future rating purposes, so we need to net that back off. But essentially what this is saying is that we've got $32.2 million of rates that have either been billed and not collected, or are to be billed and still to be collected in the remainder of this financial year.
Yes, so in fact, the title might be better express summary of rates owing or still owing.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. No, we'll take that on board. That that title has been like that for many years.
Yes.
But we can certainly we can certainly continuously improve. And yes, the word owing in that title would be of it would certainly be truthful, and it would certainly be helpful in the interpretation. So we're happy to look at that.
Thank you. And the second question I had was around the collection of DCs, actually. So I'm not sure if it's even included in the reporting, but just wondering how that's getting on, whether or not there is a target for dollars collected under that category. And because I know there was a little bit of, I suppose it was a bit slow in earlier reporting, and I'm not sure how it is now.
So it's still at 12%. A lot of those do come in at the end of the financial year, but once again, I have asked them to have a look at this at our forecasting time to see if they're still expecting that 15.9 needs to be dropped. So they will look at
12%.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're looking at it.
Yeah, so look in that DC space, so through the chair. So look, there is and in fact I think we have actually given you these figures in the past, just on when we've needed that to achieve some purposes and sharing that information. We don't routinely do it, but the DC process starts quite early with an assessment of DCs, but then of course there is often a very, very, very long wait for the appropriate trigger point to actually issue the DC invoice. And I mean, generally, I believe that's on the issue of the code compliance certificate. Yeah, so that's when the actual invoice is issued, and that's when it starts coming through, and of course it features in the statement of comprehensive income on page 61, which Nada has just said that that's at 12% of what has been forecast. But but look, assessments for DCs are made sometimes many years ahead of those invoices being issued, and the amounts are not coming through in the debtors report side. So
Cool. No, thank you.
Mike.
Yeah, thanks through the chair. Ken, just around the arbitrage arrangements that we used to have to help sort of soften rates, etc., down the track.
Yeah.
Are we just not doing them for this month, or as my understanding, we haven't got any in place at the moment? And
so I can certainly speak to that. No, we haven't got any in place at the moment, and we haven't had them for actually for a number of years now, because but basically the market conditions, there was no arbitrage gains to be made. So if you're looking at the bottom of page 58, we've for a long time we actually have held that title there, but it's been at least probably 2 or 3 years probably since we've entered into an arbitrage arrangement. We have tested it over that time. From time to time, we do link in with our treasury advisors and say, is there any opportunities there? But the treasury markets have been such that there hasn't been. But we will continue looking for that and looking for those opportunities if they do exist. We do have plenty of headroom in the borrowing space, and of course that's what we were utilising last time around when we were very, very, very active in the arbitrage space. We were utilising the headroom. We've still got that headroom, but the actual returns or the yields on the market weren't appropriate. And
I just thought maybe with interest rates going up, it might be. But if you're looking at it regularly, then you're doing that.
Yes, we are. I can assure you of that. It's not too long ago that we had that conversation with you. Yeah.
Good. All righty. No more questions for Nada. Okay. So there's a recommendation to receive Nada's report on page 56. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Mike. All in favour? Mike Pett, that was. That was carried. So thanks, Nada. Awesome. See you next month, if not before. Item 11. Sorry about that. Hi, Joe. Hi, Gary.
Afternoon. Got a paper here before you on the remuneration from Te Kanohi. It changes the structure of the meeting fee from last time from an annual fee to a per meeting fee. So I'm just going to take the report as read. Has anybody got any questions?
Mike.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, look, I think changing it from basically a salary to a fee, I think's a really good move. So really supportive of that. I guess my question is just around there's two layers of payment, basically, sort of before up to 4 hours, so $450, and then I guess 4 hours and 1 minute onwards, $550, plus transport fees, etc. I have no real issue with that, except I guess that first tier. And I was just wondering whether it may be worth looking at another tier sort of under 4 hours. A lot of our meetings, and this would be a real case in point, this meeting here, where I think we had 90 odd pages to read through, and then the meeting will go for a sort of a couple of hours or so. That whether there could be a tier of maybe up to just to throw in up to 2 hours, $350, for instance, just throwing it on there. Now I know, and I've had to talk to Ken, so I understand that, yes, of course, outside of the meeting, outside of the reading, there can be other people to talk to, etc., etc. But I sort of think, sitting on big salaries, it's easy to think $450 isn't a lot, but a lot of people aren't on big salaries, and $450 is a hell of a lot of money. So when the minimum wage is $22.50 or whatever, so I just think $350 for probably 3 or 4 hours work is it's not an elected member's position, might be fair and reasonable, but I'll just throw it out there for discussion. I'm not hell bent one way or the other. But I do think getting paid $450 for a couple of hours, turning up to a meeting where you get paid the transport money anyway, allowance, and then the other allowances, and for some reading, is just worth a discussion. That's all.
Do it. Do you want to respond, Joe?
Oh, I just wanted to point out, I suppose it's the mileage in addition, so it'll be travel time. So, you could easily have an hour travel time in there as well. And what you might do, it might be not only that there were workshops after the particular meeting, like here, finance and corporate, there might have actually been a workshop that was relevant to your committee that was on the workshop day. So then you might have had to zoom in or come into that. And that's not a separate meeting fee. So it could actually mean that, your the combination of the fee that you're paid actually could be of actually kind of sitting around here over a period of 2 days, depending on how things are kind of working in terms of that. So, it may be not, might be 2 hours around the table, but there could have been quite a lot of other work around that month, including that other workshop day time and the travel time. So it's just mileage that's extra. Yep. It's not the travel time we don't pay.
No, I understand. Yeah. So just listening to that, then I can just see that getting quite murky, even with the current state of under 4 hours, over 4 hours. Because I don't see that level of detail in here, unless I missed something. The other thing is, and I'm assuming it's a yes, that if people zoom in, that the payment will still be made. Yeah. So that but I didn't see that in there either. But maybe.
Yep, no, if they zoom in, they'd still be paid, but we have said in here attending relevant workshops, whether they're on the Te Kanohi's committee day or on any other day. Yeah. So that might mean that, obviously they will be there for the ones that are after that particular committee meeting, but it's also saying as part of that meeting fee, because how we try and schedule the workshops on that second Tuesday. So it's if you've got something that's on that Tuesday, the expectation is that you'll attend that. There's no separate meeting fee of $450 for that day. That's all part of the one kind of committee meeting fee for that day. It's not two over the same month.
Certainly part of last council where Te Kanohi were invited to all workshops, independent of what meeting it followed, and that was encompassed within their annual salary, if you like. There was no extra payment for attending that, so that's kind of why we've said, okay, we'll have the $450, but again, it's inclusive of everything you might do in that month as Te Kanohi.
Lou, you had a...
Thank you, through the chair. I quite like the idea. One great factor, I think, in this is that we've seen the attendances drop off. When we just paid a salary, they got money anyway, but didn't attend a lot of our meetings. And there were quite a number of meetings that Kahanaui didn't actually attend at all. So I think that this has got a positivity to it. I don't disagree with the idea of the payments. I think it is good. And I do know that there is a fair bit of work that goes in behind some of the meetings, but it just makes it simple and makes it straight up and down. So I would support the actual proposal.
Okay. So, Liz,
yeah, look, I agree too that this is a better, more fairer way, I guess, of compensating people for their attendances. I guess, it is a community service at the end of the day. So there's always a portion of that, in your reading and your commitments to some of the other extraordinary things that we do, like Ahuaki, the spatial plan. All of those things are part and parcel of what we do. Look, I actually do support Mike on a lower level, because there are times where our meetings are shorter. And I guess, yeah, $450 can seem, it's a salary for some people for a week. So I guess I do want to be careful around that. So I would support the extra layer.
Okay, Claire.
Yes, and I also support that extra layer. I do agree with the meeting fee is more fair than the salary, and that you have a distinction between whether it's a half day or a full day. Yeah, I acknowledge that there can be time spent outside the actual meeting itself, so it's not really an hourly rate for the duration of the meeting. Yeah, I was thinking that the extra $50 for the afternoon is not very much. I mean, I'm on the Waikato Conservation Board, and we actually get it's a half day rate and then a full day rate, and it's about the full day is about twice as much as the half day. You know, like it's a big difference. Yeah. But you know, you're trying to come up with a policy that seemed to be fair. So yeah, overall, yeah, I am supportive of it.
Lou.
Comment is clear. It's $100 more, not 50. I just want to make the point. And to be fair, for the half day, they've still got to do the same amount of reading, whether it's a half day or a full day, but it is $100. Sorry.
Yeah, and I guess the same amount of travel as well, Bruce.
And Joe, Gary, have you had any discussions with the Te Kahi about how they feel? You know, is this appropriate?
We haven't appointed any for the current.
Or the old. No, just on a payment there.
No, you haven't had that.
Okay. So we have a recommendation that's quite substantial already. I'm hearing that there might be some a proposal to put another layer in there. It seems like it's getting quite complex to me, and for basically $100. You can talk to it just a moment, but I mean, if someone wishes to propose a change to the proposal, it will be put to the vote. So, Mike, yes.
Yeah. Hey, look. Yeah, it sort of reads. You know, I'm looking at C, for instance, $450 for the duration of the committee meeting and workshop. It doesn't talk about reading. So just as it is, you're paying for the workshop or the meeting. That's bum on seat here. It's actually not for anything else. So if for anything else you're going to bring into this, you need to change it to everything else.
Well, that's why we've proposed it in C as still the meeting. They've gone further in E and explains what the meeting fee covers.
Well, sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
I see that. Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, in that case, I'll actually, yeah, it gets too complicated to go probably under 4 hours, to be fair.
Yeah. Ken, yeah.
Oh, look, through the chair, I was just going to say, I mean, the measurable time is the time that you're sitting in the chair at the meeting. So the governance team obviously can measure that time quite easily. But the monetary allowance provides for that preparatory time as well, which of course we don't have insight into, but we know would be happening or needs to happen for that person to be effective at a meeting, obviously. Yeah.
Okay, so look, I you know, I would like to put the motion as it stands. But thanks for the thoughts and, you know, the discussions, what it's all about. But so I'm going to put the motion.
Can I ask for a point of clarification?
You can.
Put the motion. If a Te Kanohi attends a workshop that is not directly after a committee meeting, so it's not a normal continuation, does that separate workshop apply to the payment of this fee?
No, it's effectively a monthly fee.
Sorry?
It's effectively a monthly fee.
But it also has to be triggered by their attendance at the committee meeting.
At the actual meeting.
Good, thank you.
Okay, So thanks, Mike's happy. Second to Lou, all in favour? Contrary, no, carried. Excellent. Thanks very much, Joe and Gary. All good. No, it's good to have it out. Tab 12, resolution to exclude the public. I need a mover, please. Bruce and Claire, all in favour? Contrary, no. Carried. We'll wait for live stream to. So just, yep. Thank you. And no one home? Oh.
You need to split the live stream.